Check, check, check. There we go. Microphone working. 2-1, pre-algebra, integers, and absolute value. Honestly think you're in for a real treat this chapter. I believe chapter 2 is along the lines of a lot of a review and not a whole lot of new stuff, and basically some things that we should already know. So we're going to just touch base with them just a little bit. I think we can all agree that obviously our negative numbers are smaller than our positive numbers, but how can we write certain things like that? Maybe I have the numbers -2 and 5. And if they ask me to write this two different ways, showing one was greater than, one was less than, here's what I would do. I would take the -2 and the 5, and I would write it two ways, okay? In this case, this is the old alligator mouth going to eat the biggest one. Okay, so what that is telling you is -2 is less than 5. How do I read that less than? If you look at the two inequality signs, which one of them looks like an L? In this case, it would be the top one. And so the bottom one would be greater than. And that's if I read it. Again, you have to get into reading it left to right. So this is -2 is less than 5. So let's write it the other way. Let's say that I made a mistake here when I rewrote this. I'm sorry. We're going to change the order, and we're going to put the 5 first and the -2 second. In this case, it's still the alligator mouth, still eats the biggest one. But if I'm going to read this one from left to right, it's going to be 5 is greater than -2. So that's two different ways to write that expression using inequalities. How about, let's go over here, how about -4 and -8? Now, if this was +4 and +8, this would be really easy for us. But sometimes we get a little bit confused with it. Here's what I ask myself, I treat negatives as money. I ask myself, which is worse, being $4 in the hole or being $8 in the hole? Okay. Obviously, 4 is closer to 0, so that's going to make it greater than. -4 is greater than -8. Which, if we flip that around, reading it again from left to right, that states -8 is less than -4. Okay, so the bigger the negative, the smaller it is. The smaller the negative, the greater it is. We're also going to have what's called absolute value. Simply by definition is the distance to 0. How far away from my number is 0? Now, distance is always positive. Absolute value is represented by vertical brackets. And so how far away from 0 is -8? That would be 8 spaces. +8. That would be 8 spaces. Again, they can have the same value because they are both equidistant away from 0. So let's look at a couple of examples with those absolute values. How about if I take, whoop, I don't want to do that. The board's off. There we go. On a new page. How about if we take 8 minus the absolute value of -4? we need to treat absolute value like parentheses. So we need to do it first. The absolute value of -4, or distance to 4, or -4 from 0 is 4 spaces. Have to bring down my negative sign and bring down my 8. So I have 8 minus 4. That's going to give me an answer of 4. 8 minus 4 equals 4. That, folks, is Chapter 2, Section 1, Integers and Absolute Values. We'll see you tomorrow.